Do you cross-cut your plywood with confidence? And that confidence being, is it perfectly cut at 90 degrees? So in this video, I'm going to show you how I have done it for many years. And we are going to cut up some cabinet parts. I almost forgot. Pay attention. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is set up our cut station. We ripped our pieces at 600 millimeters in the last video. What I want to do today is show you how I set up to get perfectly 90s, but also with those long 8-foot rips, how to balance it and support it. So really simple. I have an MFT. I'm going to show you how to set up an MFT. I'll post a video in the description below that shows you the full setup of it and how to get it at perfect 90 and get it calibrated. But I want to point out that I use my STM as my support table here. Okay, on one side. The nice thing about it is I can roll it away as I get other boards to support. I have a small shop here, and this will be where my crosscut station is, which I actually will call my sliding table attachment for my table saw or my crosscut sled, because that's how you process in a small shop panels. Now what I did is I have an MFT here. It's on a rolling cabinet, but I have, because of my CS70, I've dropped it down a little. Okay, it's not the same height of this MFT. I calculated it. It's 3/4 stock, so I have some scrap 3/4 that I put on here so it's fully supported. Now I'm completely level all the way through so I can flip and maneuver those long panels. It makes it a lot easier for you. So get the right sacrificial tables on either side to support the work. It's half the battle. Hopefully that, that time lapse will show you it's really easy and fast to set up the MFT3. When you are setting this up, make sure you have a good square. Go to that video I mentioned before in the description. It shows you how to calibrate using Post-it notes. Because once your MFT is square, and it's pathetically easy to do, guess what? The rest is gravy. But what you have to do, what I always do, is do a test cut first and double check with a really good square to make sure it's square. The first thing you do, just like when we were ripping plywood, is you want to take the factory edge off. Because when you get a piece of plywood, it's not cut perfectly at 90. So we have these 600 millimeter rips that we took care of last week. Now I got to make sure this is 90, because once again, when you start with 90, everything else should fall into place as long as you measure accurately. And that's the beauty of this system I have set up. So let's make a 90-degree cut, check it, and go from there. So this is what I was talking about. I'm going to lift this up. I'm going to move my board here, and I'm going to take a really good square, make sure there's no schmutz here, and I'm going to check for square. And this is one of the most reliable squares out there, and it's actually dead on perfect. All right, that square, I mark it with this mark, and I also do this because I'm going to put this to the fence. So this is the process that I use, and the reason I have my STM as a sacrificial table, and this is a sacrificial table support tables, is because I've got a 90 on here and I like space in between, because my next option here is to take it, and what I'm going to do is, remember that's 90 and that goes toward the fence. I can take my boards, rotate them like this, and now I'm going to mark the board, and my cut is 672 millimeter. So I'll make that mark now. Okay, so somebody asked me in a video recently, how do you mark your board? And it's pretty simple. I'm going to look and I'm going to be at 672. I'll make a point exactly there. And what I do is I usually split the line, so I'll make a little arrow like this, so I know that's exactly my mark. I'm gonna point it out again. This is effortless because I have the support tables. I have the ultimate cut station. So I'm just gonna take that mark, and this splinter guard is dead on to this saw, so I'm gonna move it over, bring my track down, and I'm gonna take that and split it right there. And you're gonna see right there how I split that line. Okay, some of the things I'll check before I make my first cut. Really important. I look here to make sure there's no space and this board is completely up against the fence. Now, a few things come into play. I have it completely supported and it's all level on my tables, but every once in a while the board may have undulation, so it cants you away from there. The next thing is I'm gonna be cutting, let's see, 6 times 2 is 12. Oh my God, I gotta cut. I gotta cut for these cabinets. I gotta cut 12 of these. So what I'm going to do is set this up so once I have my dimension right, I can just go to town on this. So that cut, I measured, it's exact, and it's square on this end. And there's sometimes I'll do 2 or 3 pieces before it gets in my head. I don't have to anymore, I just verify square. Because once all your pieces are cut for cabinetry, it goes together square. Your cabinet goes together square. Okay, so once you get cutting and you're consistent because of your stop, there's a couple things I always do. I label 672 because there's gonna be 2 components to these cabinets. One are the sides at 672, and we're gonna be cutting 400 millimeter cuts in a few moments for our tops and bottoms. So that is why I always double check to make sure that's tight in case I ram a piece in, okay? It won't move, and I label my boards. Okay, so some of you watching may be saying, hey, you're using a tape measure. How accurate is your tape measure? So I do a couple of things. I need to cut these at 400. So I'll bring it like this. And am I meticulous with this? Yeah, to a fault sometimes, but I'll mark that at 400. Okay, but what I'll do is I'll come back and check it, and I have my tape absolutely perfectly calibrated to my folding rule. So if you are always questioning your measurement, just verify it, double check it with something you know is perfect. I know this is repetitive, but I have it set up on my 400 mark, and I'm just gonna take that secondary flip stop and verify it, make my cut. It doesn't get any better than this. Let me verify. Oh, dead on. Let me flip it. Woohoo! I always like to use light. Dead on. So this is the system that I use to get those perfect 90-degree crosscuts for my cabinet parts. It's a simple process. Get the support tables right, get your multifunction table set up dead on square, and then make sure you get your measurements dead on with your eye and line it up on the splinter guard. And guess what? Now it's just cut, repeat, cut, repeat. So, as we always say in the SedgeTool shop, be positive, stay sharp, and I mean wicked sharp.